join us by way of social media stronger than it ever has, God, because at this time we need to hear from you. And we give you that glory and praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Now just wave at somebody that you didn't come here with tonight. Let's wave. Let's wave. There you go. Amen. Ask y'all to hug and all that stuff. We're going to keep our distance. Amen. All right, so we're thankful for those of you who come out tonight, even those who are sharing with us by way of social media tonight. And we are excited to be in the house of the Lord. And we're going to be open until we can't be. Amen. And so there's so much going on in the world right now. And we need to hear from God. Amen. So for those of us who went on Sunday evening to support Pastor Steps, thank you very much. And she preached a very powerful word. She's telling you need to check your soil now. Ain't nothing wrong with seed. So we need to check our soil and to see why we're not having growth in our lives. Amen. All right, so tonight we're going to change gears a little, shift gears a little bit, and we will get back to our leveling up. But tonight I felt really pressed in my spirit to address this subject of fear. So we know that there's so much that is going on in our world right now, and if we are not careful, we would be pushed into the corner of being fearful to the degree that the Lord would not be able to get the glory out of our lives, because we would be frustrated and we would be pushed into places of panic and things of that nature. And so we want to succumb, or not to succumb to this, but to overcome fear. And we understand that the first thing to understand about fear is that in the same way that God needs faith as an environment in which to operate, Satan needs fear as an environment in which to operate. And so what we're seeing now is the enemy has set the stage because there's something that an agenda that he's attempting to push. And so then he wants to establish fear as an environment in which to move and to operate. And we can see this, and I can't remember who quoted this, who made this quote, but it was talking about how when people are fearful, they have even a tendency to give up rights. Because when you're afraid, if somebody says, I'll protect you, you're willing to let them invade your space and your privacy. You're willing to let them tap your phone, or I need to be able to see where you are at all times because I'm trying to keep you safe. I need to be able to come in your house whenever I feel like it so I can keep you safe. I need to be able to monitor your communication. I need to be able to monitor where you go and where you spend money, because that's the only way I can keep you safe. And there's some people that are willing to give up those freedoms out of fear. And even when we look on the television, fear sells. So if we look at insurance companies, and all they talk about is you better make sure you got this, because you don't want to see this, you don't want this to happen, because if you don't have this coverage, or if you don't have this, or if you don't have that, then what can happen to you? And there's some truth to some of those things, but they sell it as as a point of fear. They sell it as if you don't do this, you don't want to know what your life is going to be like. If you don't purchase this, even when they sell stuff, you need to go ahead and send your money right now and go ahead and buy this now, because if you don't, you're going to miss it. And you don't want to be without this. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And so people are fearful that if I don't get it now, I won't be able to get it. Fear sells. And so we have to know that those things are present, but that's not God's way. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And so when we see all this fear being propagated in our world, we know that that's not coming from God. All right? So fear is Satan's choice weapon to create chaos and stagnation in the life of the believer. Fear is. That's Satan's most choice weapon. He paints pictures of non-existent what-if scenarios that produce panic worry, doubt, and unbelief that contaminate or even deactivate our faith. All these what ifs. And he'll put you and literally glue your feet to the ground to where God can't move you. There is no forward mobility, but you just stay in these safe spaces. And he'll use fear to do it. Fear attempts to stop our forward mobility by making us believe that the risk of moving forward is too great or that God's plan is not sound. And so then you become afraid to the degree that you stop trusting God to do the things that he's called you to do, because when we walk with God, we walk by faith and not by sight. And since God has a tendency not to give us all the details to everything, then we would have a tendency, if we are in fear, to look at the plan of God and be unwilling to move on that because we can't see soundness in it. And if you don't trust God, then the enemy will play games with your mind and in your spirit that'll have you about to lose it all. Even now, there are people who are so full of fear right now until they don't want to move. They don't want nobody around them at all. They don't want, the entire rhythm of their lives have been disrupted. And we know that, it's hard not for their life to be disrupted with some of the things that we see now. We understand that. But there's some things about your life that ought not change. The rhythm of your time that you spend with God ought not change. You ought to be spending the same amount of time, or maybe even more. If you quarantine and you're in the house all day long, you got more time to spend with God. Make the enemy pay for the games he playing. So if you're going to be in the house all day, I'm going to pray more. I'm going to fast. I'm going to spend time with God. I'm going to spend time in worship. I'm going to reach out to folks that I ain't never reach out to. I'm going to do things that's going to actually build the kingdom of God during this time. Make the enemy pay for the games he plays. Right? And so, the enemy wants to make us feel that God's plan is not sound. And he'll use fear in order to try to push that into our mind. But we overcome fear as we become sure that God is in control and that Satan is not his equal. God has no equal, even in his opposite. So Satan is not on the same level in any way as God. And once we really establish or re-establish in our minds that God is in control, then we don't have to be overcome with fear because we know that God has the final say. Satan literally has to seek permission for anything that he does because God is in control. And I know sometimes we look at our world and it seems like everything is out of control. And we wonder, where is God? Look, the Lord, in the very beginning, when we go back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, he says, let us make man in our likeness and in our image and let them have dominion. And so the reality is that a lot of the things that we see right now, the problems are man-made. Well, why is the Lord letting everybody in the world starve? He ain't letting everybody in the world starve. It's people letting everybody in the world starve. It's enough money and food in the world to feed every person on the planet. But it's just that there are some people that are hoarding the wealth and hoarding the food, letting other people starve. That ain't got nothing to do with God. They got something to do with greedy people. Amen. There's enough resources in the world to feed everybody 3 or 4 times over. So if there are people that's starving, it's because there are people that don't have compassion towards other people, not God. He's provided, he makes sure that the ground yields what it's supposed to yield for people to be able to eat. But it comes down to who are the people that are controlling the wealth. We are a part of a world system that's controlled by Satan, and that's where hunger comes from. We start looking at all this stuff that's happening with all these floods and all of this stuff that's going on. Well, when you start to see how all of these greenhouse gases and the stuff that we put out with the stuff that we're doing, it's literally depleting the ozone and it's causing the temperature to rise, and you got glaciers that's melting in places that have been frozen for centuries, and now all this water and this water table is rising and it's coming down and causing all these floods. That ain't God stuff. That's us stuff. That's stuff that we created, and God said, let them have dominion. So if you're going to create messes, God will let you live in the messes you created. All right? And so a lot of this stuff is stuff we have done, but when it becomes a mess, then we go and say, God, where were you? I'm in the same place I was when I told you not to do that crazy stuff, and you done it anyway. That's where I am. I'm in the same place I was when you had plenty of money, when everything was working the way you wanted it to work. I'm in the same place I was the whole time. God ain't moved. All right? And so if God's the same yesterday, today, and forever, and we're not in the vicinity of God, then who moved? It ain't God. We did. And so at some point, as a human race, we have to stop blaming God for stuff we caused. And listen, y'all. And see, and here's where I think sometimes we get off when we don't understand this. God has put free will, has established free will in every person. And so even if, with God being in control, God will not override your free will. He won't do that. He even says, choose you this day who you're going to serve. So God gives us the right and the ability to choose even against him. So then, how do we look at what people do and ask where was God when he gave everybody a free will? So what we want God to do essentially is possess people and make them do what he wants them to do. And that's just not the nature of God. He gives us the ability to make choices. If you decide, if you get up and come Sunday morning and you come out of the house looking a mess, the Holy Ghost ain't going to stop you. He ain't going to stop you. Now the Holy Ghost knows how many folk going to talk about you when you come to church. He knows that you're going to be on Facebook Live and the comments that folks going to have about you. Holy Ghost know all that, but he is not going to put no angels to stand guard at the end of your closet to make you take that off. He ain't going to do that. He ain't going to do it. He's going to allow you to come out and look at the mess if that's what you want to do. Because here's the reality. God does not possess us. He prompts us. He'll make sure that you know. He'll prompt you and say, don't do that. Don't do that. Now, that's just not going to go good. They don't go together. Now, you can override that all day long and go out there doing whatever you want to do. All right? And so then, before, where was God? Listen, people are being prompted at all times by God to do things that they just decide that they're not going to do. And so, we got to get out of the mindset that God is going to override somebody's free will, because the question is, how much stuff did God make you do? Okay, put it this way. He says he wishes above all things that nobody should perish, but all should come to repentance. But folks still going to hell. If he was just going to override your free will, he would make everybody accept him. And his perfect will would be done. But he's not doing that. He's going to give you the choice. He's going to prompt you. He'll let you see your life flash before your eyes. He'll let somebody shoot and hear a bullet fly past your head and you hear all this stuff. And he's showing you all this stuff to let you know that he's been there all the time. He'll heal your body and be good to you and all of this stuff. But at the end of the day, you have to make a choice. Okay? And so then, what we're seeing going on in our world, there are people who are now, and it's almost frustrating to a degree, that folks always want to ask where God is when crisis strikes. But on regular sunny days, they try to do everything they can to get him as far away from our regular life as possible. You take the Lord out of school, and then when somebody go to the school and start shooting, you ask where he was. Where was God? You took him out. You told him he wasn't welcome there. He where you put him. You told him you got it under control. We don't want you here. But then when somebody come into school and start shooting, where was God? Now you need to ask yourself where he was. All right? We just got to stop. We got to stop allowing the enemy to play mind games with us, because that's all he's doing. So then we have to know that Satan has to seek permission for anything that he does, because God's in control. So if we maintain our faith in God, we do not have to live in fear. Okay? And there's an acronym for fear. F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. Okay? False evidence appearing real. Even now, know this. Now, this coronavirus epidemic is a real thing. But trust me, there are some things that could be reported that would help us better understand the full scope of what's going on, to actually, so we won't be so fearful, or people won't be so afraid of what's happening. Because we are always talking about how many casualties we had, how many cases we had, but we're not reporting how many people who had it that don't have it anymore. That's right. How many people are recovering from it? Those people are trying to do all kinds of stuff to report their story, and you don't find nobody putting a microphone in their face to ask them how was it, and all that kind of stuff. They ain't doing that. So at the end of the day, there are things that could be done, but that's what lets us know that there's a narrative behind a lot of the things that we see. It's a lot of stuff that's going on right now, and we're not even paying attention to it because of this coronavirus. So it's swarms of locusts in Africa right now that's tearing up the whole continent. But we ain't hearing about that at all, because all we talking about coronavirus. Vladimir Putin came out and put an initiative out that will allow him to be the president to 2036. And we ain't even reporting none of this. We don't know nothing about none of this stuff that's going on. It's all kinds of stuff that's going on in the legislature, all kind of rules that are being passed, all kinds of stuff that's happening, and all we talk about is coronavirus. Weapons of mass distraction. Everybody's so afraid, we so fearful to all this other stuff, we don't even care. That's why and even if they were to report it, get that off of there so you can tell me about what's going on with this virus. You know, it's just amazing how the enemy uses fear to try to mess us up. Okay? Write these verses down. I want you to write these verses down. These are some things that are going to help us to be able to deal with this and to overcome this thing called fear. 2 Timothy, we're going to read it again. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse number 7. For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So this scripture tells us that fear does not come from God. So if you are living in fear, you do not have to ask where it came from. It did not come from God. Okay? God gives us soundness of mind. See, y'all know when you get scared, you don't think right. You don't think your thoughts are not clear. You're scared for real. Now, if you play scared, that's one thing. But if you're scared for real, you can't think correctly. You don't process information the same way. Listen, y'all, I do some heights. But some of that stuff I see on TV or on Facebook where they way up there, listen, my mind don't work right. Way up there. Low I'll be with y'all way, even to the end of the world. When we get way up there, listen here, I know God is up there, but it's certain, look, don't be asking me no whole bunch of questions while we way up there and trying to get me to, no, listen, I don't want to talk to nobody. I'm holding on to the side. Even though if the whole thing falls, I'm going with it. I'm holding on to the side. I don't want to talk. I need to focus on my feet being flat. I don't think straight when I'm way up high. You know what I'm saying? Because when you get, when you're fearful, you don't think straight. So now if you don't think straight, when you're full of fear, don't you think the enemy know that? Yeah. So how many people now are willing to compromise some stuff because they're scared? Y'all better see what the enemy does, what he's trying to do. When you are in fear, you are willing to do some things that you may not have normally done. See, it's easy to say, I trust God when ain't nobody shooting. When ain't nobody shooting, it's easy to trust God. But if you sit there, I'm just going to wait patiently on the Lord. Well, you're going to wait patiently and they shooting around you, it's going to change some stuff. If you're not rooted and grounded in God, then it would introduce some things that will make it a little tougher for you to just be solid and secure. But the verse says that God did not give us the spirit of fear. But one thing this shows us is that fear is a spirit. And if fear is a spirit, the Bible tells us that all things are under our feet which means if you have the authority in Christ, you can rebuke a spirit. So if fear tries to grip you, you can speak to that spirit of fear and tell it to go on away from around here. You have the authority to do that. You can speak to fear and fear will listen because we have the authority of Christ in Jesus' name. Okay? So now, write this one down. Isaiah 26:3. We still talking about fear. Still talking about fear. So 2 Timothy tells us God didn't give us the spirit of fear. Isaiah 26:3. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Here's why. Because he trusteth in thee. He's going to keep me in perfect peace because my mind is stayed on him, because I'm trusting in him. Yes. And if my mind is stayed on God, what happens is the proper balance between my problems and God is established. And so I look at my problems, and my problems begin to seem small in the face of how big and strong God is. So I have to he'll keep you in perfect peace if your mind is stayed on him, because my trust is in him. My trust ain't in Trump. So whether Trump get it right or not, that's not going to change my peace, because that ain't what my trust is in the first place. All right? So this verse, it tells us, it tells us when we look at 2 Timothy 1:7, that fear is a spirit, but it manifests itself as a negative emotion that leads to a negative state of mind. Okay? Now, when fear comes on you, you begin to see through that lens, and it changes how you see things. That's why if you're dealing with a person who's dealing with paranoia, and they're just they succumb to fear, they're overwhelmed by fear, they can come in a group of people and ain't nobody saying nothing to them, ain't nobody bothering them, but they think everybody in there has a plan to kill them. And they sometimes will act out, just do real, questionable stuff, simply because in their mind is telling them that you're in danger. And they just spaz out sometimes. You just wonder, what's wrong with this person? When you are really overcome by fear, think about a time in your life when you were scared for real. Yes, sir. When you were scared for real. I ain't talking about, when you were scared for real. What was your decision-making ability like at that time? So think about then, if the enemy can bring those levels of fear on believers, in his mind, he can stop us in our track just because we're scared. That's why the Bible tells us, no, we have to keep our mind stayed on him. Now, it's been all kind of epidemics that have came to America, that have come to America, all kinds of stuff. And a lot of times, one thing that was happening for us in America is we've been spoiled. Because some of the stuff that we're dealing with now, other folks been dealing with it. But it just always passed us over, right? So we didn't have to deal with some of it. It was in certain communities, but it hit as close as it has. And so what's amazing is that the moment it gets close enough to reach us, then we forget about all the stuff that we've heard and proclaimed and studied and believed. We forget about all that stuff and go to what the world is trying to tell us, how the world tells us we ought to see stuff. I had to get on today because I started seeing all these folks on Facebook, y'all, and it just kind of got on my skin. All of these folks talking about whether pastors should close their doors or not. Some say you should. Some say you shouldn't. Listen, y'all, at the end of the day, the responsibility for us as pastors is to be led. We are to adhere to the laws of the land. So if the city orders and government would have said, nobody can be out after 7 o'clock, then either we got a choice to make. Either we're going to have Bible study early, or we're going to do it online, because we're going to adhere to the laws of the land. But until the government tell us we can't do that, we're going to have church. Now, you can either come or not come. That's your decision. I'm not going to condemn you one way or the other, but at the end of the day, I don't need nobody trying to tell me what I ought to do, because ain't nobody in my shoes. And half of the folks talking about you ought not to come wasn't going anyway. So why are you trying to make decisions for other folk when you weren't going anywhere? The same folks that's here tonight is who I expected to be here. Come on, y'all. That's what I'm like, listen, y'all. Just be led. God will not deploy a man or woman of God and then not lead them. Amen. All you got to do is listen. And so I understand this too. There is no blanket response to what we having other than 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal the land. That's the only blanket response to all of this. So there are places, there are churches that are larger churches, and they have closed their doors. And folks say, y'all should have done that. Well, in those areas, they have city ordinances that say they can't have more than 50 people in the congregation. So you want them to break the law to have church. So we ain't got 50 people here tonight. So that's not affecting us. So every congregation is different. So why are you going to demonize somebody for doing it the way that they're doing it when we don't even have the same issues? That's why we ought to have wisdom, even as people of God, and know and understand that some folks that want to tell you what to do don't have the same issues you have. I don't let folks, I don't care how long they've been married, tell me how to do my marriage, because we may not have the same issues. We don't have the same problems. We don't have the same family dynamics. Do y'all know that it's very different? Now, both of my children, my wife and I have two children, right? There are some families that are blended, that come to the relationship with children from previous relationships. Their family dynamic is different than mine. Because they have issues in their family that I may not have. Stuff like mama, dad, baby dad. That's right. Mama, dad, and baby dad. If you come into the relationship with your children, in the back of your mind, I don't care how much I love you, I got to question whether or not you love my kids like they're yours. So am I going to be letting you discipline my children and they're not biologically yours? It's a whole lot of other dynamics that come into play. Even though you marry with children, it's not the same. And so every church does not have the same dynamic and the same stuff at play. So at the end of the day, you got to be led. And the same is true for us as individuals. We got to be led by the Spirit of God. There is no blanket response other than trust God. That's the only blanket response to what we have going on. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to tell y'all why I came tonight. And I said on Facebook, because I know there's some folks who don't have a smartphone. There's some people who ain't on Facebook Live. And so I have to be in the position to serve the congregation where I pastor. So my response may not be the same as somebody else's down the street. They have a different dynamic. I'm not going to condemn them for that, but at the end of the day, I got to do what I got to do for Main Street. This is what God put me. And so we're not going to worry about the rest of that stuff. And so there are people, you ought not do this and you ought not do that. If I was you, great. You ain't me. Great. You ain't got to talk. Say no more. You can say less. We ain't the same person. Okay. All right. So let's go here. I want to read. Let's turn here. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. So we still talking about this fear. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. That's right. That's right. That's it. Y'all got it? I hear still hear some pages turn. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. This is what the Bible says. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. Now, the lion is considered the king of the jungle, and they hunt differently than any other predator. The lion is not the fastest cat in the Serengeti. He's not. A cheetah's faster than a lion. He's not even the strongest, because an elephant is stronger than a lion. But what the lion has that no other animal has is the power of his roar. Okay? And so I ain't never been to Africa or nothing. And I don't know if I'm ever going. That's the Lord. He gonna have to, Lord have mercy. And I ain't ready yet. I see stuff on TV and I know that ain't what Africa look like all together. But until I got some assurances. I ain't messing around, okay? I tell folks don't come down here unless you're ready for mosquitoes. Some stuff you don't know about Arkansas. Everything down here bite. Don't come down here without doing your research. You better find out what's going on. But I had it on my surround sound, and the lion roared on the surround sound, and it shook the floor. And I said, Lord have mercy. And I've heard that the roar of a lion is so powerful that if you're close enough, you actually feel the ground shake when a lion roars. And so what happens is this, y'all. When the lion is hunting, it will let out a roar that creates panic and terror in whatever it's hunting. So he'll just roar, it's a group of them together, a gazelle, whatever it is. And it will just roar, and it'll create panic because the sound of the lion's roar is so big and so strong that it begins to make the prey feel like it's surrounded. It's bouncing off the rocks, it's coming off all this stuff, the ground is shaking, they feel like they're surrounded. And so what happens is, if the group would stay together, they'd be fine. But there's always one weak one in the crowd that goes into a state of panic and runs away from the group. And that's the one whom he's seeking that he can devour. It's the one who breaks ranks with the strength of the group, runs off by itself, and that's the one that everybody's attention turns towards. So even in a situation like this, the enemy lets out a roar, and there's some hapless believer who ain't where they need to be in their faith that's going to run off by themselves into isolation, and that's the one who he can devour. Come on with it. I like that. That's the one. That's the one. And so when he said he's as a roaring lion, means he's not a roaring lion. He just act like one. And the intention is to create fear that strikes terror and panic into its prey, because at that time it stops thinking clearly and starts reacting because I'm afraid. And so now we got folks all around the globe right now. That's the ones that he can devour because they don't run off from the safety of the saints. You off on your, they crazy over this, they don't know what's going on. And so here you are, the enemy done got you off in isolation. Messing with your mind, your spirit all messed up, and you ain't got nobody around you to say, snap out of it and get yourself together. You're on your own. Listen, y'all, when I got something going on in my life, I'm not running from the church. I'm running to the church. This is where the safety, there is safety with the saints. I don't care what nobody say. There ain't no perfect church, and we ain't perfect people. But listen, y'all, if something's going on, I want to be with the saints. That's the place to be. Because there ain't nobody else nowhere perfect nowhere either. I ain't going to church. They done made me mad. You went to work, man? Some of them mad every day. You still go to work every day. Listen, y'all, this is the place to be, is among the saints. So then, now I want y'all to see something else with this verse. It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. That I can get whose mind is not stayed on him. Who is it that I can get? Okay? So he's seeking. So that means you don't have to be a victim of fear. You don't have to be one of the ones that Satan can devour if you employ Isaiah 26:3, that will keep him in perfect peace whose mind is stayed on thee. It's when your mind gets off of what it should be on that your situation starts to devour you. So I think I heard Pastor Deb say this Sunday in Sunday school. See, it's one thing for the boat to be in the water. That's what it's supposed to be. Problem is when the water get in the boat. That's when you got a problem. So all of this stuff can be going on around us. We are in the world, but not of the world. But the problem is when we let this stuff start getting in us, now you finna start sinking. As long as you are pure inside and your trust is in God, no matter what's going on around us, listen, y'all. Okay, let me say it this way. Let me say it this way. If we really believe in the blessed hope, okay, I'm going to say this now. If we really believe in the blessed hope, which is the rapture of God and his return, if we really believe that if I close my eyes over here, I'm going to wake up over there, what are you scared of? If we believe it for real. Listen, we say all the time, we focus on that in order to see Jesus, you got to live right. Can I tell y'all something else? That in order for you to see Jesus, you got to die. Unless you're going to be here when you wrapped it up. If you go, so at the end of the day, if you go right now and you go to the doctor and everything fall apart, guess what they say you got 30 minutes to live. Guess what that means? In 30 minutes, I'm going to be with Jesus. And that's why you can lay in the bed and rejoice even when they say ain't nothing else we can do for you. Okay? Because guess what? That means I get to grade. Come on here, y'all. Fearful what? To live is Christ and to die is gain. That's the word. That's the word. That's the word. Sickness, and no matter what it is, don't end for us in the grave is graduation. I'm going to see him in peace if I'm in Christ. So what you afraid of? At some point, maybe we really don't believe what we say we do. I'm going here right now and get hit by a car. Listen, y'all, I don't want to leave right now. I don't want to leave right now. I got work to do. But y'all know why I want to leave right now? Because I got work to do, and I want to see my children grow up, all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, I can't leave yet because I ain't finished. So at the end of it all, when I'm done, I fought a good fight. I finished my course. There's a crown of righteousness laid up for me. And I'm trying to see his face, the one who, Lord have mercy. I got to see his face. Because there have been some times, y'all, that I've been real low and he talked to me. And I felt like I was by myself and he was walking with me. I got to see this man's face. And if it's the coronavirus that escorts me into the presence of God, I'm going to call the coronavirus my friend. You help me see Jesus? Amen. Feel scared of what, y'all? Scared of what? Come on now. We got to stop letting the enemy play game with us. You're not leaving here until you finished. If I tried to, I can't. His hand is on your life. And if the enemy could stuff your life out, he would have. Because he's seeking whom he may devour. And the reason you ain't devoured is because he can't devour you. Sister Ernest ought to tell you, she was at the point of death, but you can't die because you ain't done. Listen, y'all, we ain't got no reason to be fearful and scared. Scared of what? At the end of the day, the worst case scenario is I get to see Jesus. Worst case scenario, I get to see Jesus. All right. Thank you, Lord. That's why when we come in here, I'm praising God I thank him for every breath I have. Because every breath I have is another opportunity to say thank you. Lord have mercy. All right. Now back to the script, if I can get there. See, that's worth it already. Lord have mercy. All right. So now, we ain't got no reason, y'all, to be living in fear. We ain't got no reason to be living in fear, because that's what the enemy wants to do. He wants you to be tormented in your own mind. Y'all know that you can be imprisoned in your own head?
Yes. In your mind. Yes. Right.
You can be so imprisoned in your own mind until you might as well, you be better off behind bars. Because you can lock yourself in your own head. And the enemy loves to play mind games with you to make you think that you by yourself, things ain't gonna change, ain't nothing gonna ever get any better for you. Can't nobody stand you, don't nobody like you. You ain't good enough. You look in the mirror, don't like what you see. All this stuff. At the end of the day, what difference does it make? If I see Jesus and he say, well done, what difference does it all make? What difference does it make? I just want to hear him say, well done. That's what I want to hear him say. Well, all the rest of this stuff is stuff that I do because that I enjoy it. I put on what I put on because I enjoy it. But at the end of the day, I want to hear him say, well done. All right. Now, I don't know how to get back to here from where I am. I don't know how to. Okay, so, all right. So, we cannot allow, y'all, the enemy to play mind games with us. Yes, sir. We can't allow, that don't mean be reckless in what we do. But at the end of the day, don't live your life in fear. Because that's what the enemy wants to do. Now, real quick, I'm going to try to drop these 3 things off, and then we're gonna move from here. All right. So there are 3 things in particular that I want to address as relates to fear. 3 particular areas that we are going to offset. All right. Number 1, and this is very strong, is the fear of failure. It's one of the strongest fears that exist in the world, period, is the fear of failure. Turn to Isaiah 40 and 10. The fear of failure. So we talked about Sunday how we know God can, but we struggle with, will he do it for me? We know he can, but will he? All right, and so the fear of failure is one of those things that the enemy tries to bring in our space simply to keep us from stepping out on what's next. So sometimes just because we're afraid of failing, we'll live with what's now because we're afraid of what's next. Fear of failure, Isaiah 40 and 10. Y'all got it? This is what it says. Fear not, for I am thy God. Now, just let these words sink in to you. He says, fear not, don't be afraid. Here's why. For I am thy God. Period. Is that 40 and 10 that it is? Okay, let me go. 41 and 10, I'm sorry. Isaiah 41 and 10. 41 and 10. That worked? Okay. So he says, fear not. Here's why you don't fear. For I am thy God. So even if you don't hit nothing else that God said he's going to do, he said, don't be afraid because I'm your God. It's almost like this, y'all. Just say you went to the campus. Say you're working out on the campus. That's something that's pretty prevalent. So if you're working out on campus, and just say you got the chancellor's heart, and the chancellor tell you, listen, you my person, I put you in this position, and no matter what happened, I got you. So you go in your department, you go wherever you want. It could be all kind of stuff going on in your department, in your area. But at the end of the day, the chancellor said, I got you. So no matter what happens, fear not. For I am thy, this is what God says, for I am thy God. So that means that no matter where you are, the Lord has told you, my hand is on you. I am your God. So you don't be afraid because I'm your God. The one who has all power and control of everything says that you belong to me and I belong to you. So don't be afraid. Now the chancellor got a lot of power on the campus, but he ain't got more power than God. But I know how you feel if the chancellor told you, listen, I don't care what nothing, if anything happens, Don't hesitate to come to me. Listen, y'all, I remember when I was in the railroad, the Lord gave me favor with somebody. It was really high up in the company. And there was some stuff going on where I was that was not particularly above board, right? And so I got to the point where I said, I'm tired of this. It was a toxic environment. There was a lot going on. And I thought about it. Remember, he told me, he said, now, if there's ever any issues you have, he said, call me. Now, all this time, I wasn't even thinking about it. I had a cell phone. I called him every now and then. We talked about little things. Never used it. Now, he's 6, 7, 8 positions up higher than me. And so one day it dawned on me, you got this position, call him. You got this connection with this man, call him. I called him, and I said, listen, this is what's going on. And he said, okay. And I said, I don't want you to jump in and fix my stuff or nothing. I just need to know how I need to hear what's going on, how I need to perceive this, and how I need to respond. He said, okay, tell you what, don't do nothing. I got it. That was the end of the conversation. Can I tell y'all, by the time I got back to work that night, it was done. Everybody's whole calendar done changed. Because he made one phone call and said, if I hear about this again, it's going to be a lot more situations. Y'all going to have a lot more problems than what y'all have right now if I hear about this again. So if whatever's going on, leave that one alone. So here it is now. Now stuff was still going on around me, but it didn't come down my dwelling place. Come here, somebody. Didn't come down my dwelling place because they knew that there was somebody higher than me. That I had his ear, and if I call him and tell him what I want, he intervened in my situation. Can I tell y'all, fear not? For I am thy God if you call him and tell him. See, that's why the enemy don't want you to say nothing, because you got God on you can call him and tell him. Tell him what you want. Tell him your body ain't feeling good. Lord, I need you to come in. She just keep messing with me. Call him and tell him what you want. I don't feel my money ain't right. I got a bill I can't pay. Lord, I need you to listen here. You can call him and tell him. And he'll answer if you call him. I'm trying to tell you now. And if this man is an earthly man, and I can call him and he'll intervene in my situation, how about the man who scooped the whole sea out with his hand? Took all the stars and flung them in the sky, and they still burning now. Know every hair on your head, and not how many, but each one. So if you shave and lose one, he knows which number it is. And he says, I am your God, don't be afraid. What situation do you have that's stronger than God? Nothing. Afraid of what? Come on, y'all. If we can ever just, Lord have mercy. Oh, Jesus. I feel like it too, y'all. This is it. I feel like it right now. I feel like it right through here. Fear not, for I am. Because I am. Lord have mercy. Whatever you need, I am. He said, I am. Lord have mercy. He says, I am thy God. He says, I will strengthen thee. He says, yea, I will help thee. He said, I'm not sending no representatives. I'm not going to send Michael or Gabriel. He said, I will strengthen you. See, that man could have called somebody else and said, I'm just going to pass this down the totem pole. I'm going to pass it down the chain of command, and I'm going to get it to your sit down. He said, no. I'm going to call. Because from his position, if he called, he got more weight on his words because of who he is and where he sits. I'm trying to get y'all to understand what's happening. And so if God calls your situation, I'm telling you now, care what the doctor say. When the Lord called, stuff got to change. I'm trying to tell you. He says, I will strengthen thee. He says, I will help thee. He says, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. And so then, if God says he's our God, he's going to strengthen us, he's going to help us, he's going to uphold us, then why be afraid of failure? Because he's personally going to be there to strengthen us, help us, and uphold us. See, listen, when you ever get to the place of being afraid of failing, it's because you are calculating your ability to make it happen, and you're counting out what God does. Listen, every week, when I sit down at my Bible to try to prepare, it becomes obvious to me that I can't do it by myself. Because when you start reading the this is, thus, these, and thous, and your mind is tired because you've been working dealing with foolishness all day long. Listen, y'all. Every weekend, I repent. Every weekend. Lord, please. I need your help, Lord. I need you to speak, Lord. I need you to speak. I don't think about all the time that I was eating ice cream where I could have been, Lord, please. I need the people. I've been putting y'all in the Lord, the people need a word. Lord, I can't miss if I miss. Amen. I come back next Sunday, Lord, please. I've been blaming on y'all. Lord, the people. Lord, come through and help me. Every weekend. Right around about Thursday, yeah, we get the sackcloth and ashes. We get deep around about Thursday. Especially if ain't nothing on that paper. Lord, please, Lord, I can't. I need you to help me and hold me, Lord. Try to tell y'all, man. It becomes obvious to me every week. I can't do this by myself. Listen, how in the world do you think you can walk out into the world every day with all this stuff going on by yourself? It's impossible. And you know you can't depend on the goodness of people. Lord have mercy. The kind of stuff we see now from just regular people every day, some stuff you see, it's like, I didn't think folk would do that. And that you gonna depend on that? No, listen here. We have a God who says, I will strengthen you, I will help you, and I will uphold you. And that is the truth. Listen, y'all, I was talking to some, I got a phone call from a friend, and we're going to finish it. We ain't going to get to this one. But that's all right. We'll finish this one. So I had a friend from a previous, when I was with the government, called me today and said, did you hear about this person? And I ain't talking to this person. I said, no, how's everything? You know, we're talking. She said, did you hear about such and such? I said, no. Said, he passed away this morning. Really? I'm talking about mid-40s. I mean, workout, big strapping man, all this stuff. I said, no, what happened? So he went to the doctor. Now, I just want y'all to went to the doctor and had a hip procedure done. The hip procedure he had done went well, no problem. Got home. Today was the first day he went back to work, working from home. Got up to go to the kitchen, looked at his wife and said, I don't feel well. Fell down and died. Oh, God. Had a blood clot that broke free and died. So here it is now. It's folks, listen, we talking about the providence of God. Lord, I hear you. We talking about the providence of God. Now think about all the police officers that went to work last night that didn't die. When he gets up, after a routine procedure, has a blood clot that breaks free, stands up and dies after working hard to keep his body together. So at the end of the day, if we're going to play the odds would say that the police officer who was in danger last night was the one who would have caught a bullet and wouldn't be here, and this man would still be alive. But we don't play the odds. It's about the providence of God. What are you afraid of? If I get up today and walk outside and I leave here, then at the end of the day, I ain't playing the odds. It's the providence of God. He has the right to decide for me. I heard this, and we're going to go for this. Get some in here and get it. There was a Dr. L.K. Curry, Chicago, Illinois, was talking about his brother. That his brother was one of the Tuskegee Airmen. And so his brother talked about all of these missions that he had fought, that he had flown, and all these missions. And had never lost a battle, all these missions that he flown on. He got all the patches on his vest, whatever, one of the most decorated war pilots of his time. And so he came back from flying the last mission he had flown, came back, and they were having a leave time on the base. So he come back for his leave time on the base, y'all, and they decided they're going to play baseball. So they go out there playing baseball. He was playing out in the outfield. And somebody hit a fly ball, and it's going out to the outfield. He runs out there to catch the ball, trips over a pipe, falls down the culvert, hits the bottom, breaks his neck, and died. So now, he said that they were just so blown, just everybody was just so distraught about it. He said, but at that moment, he saw the clearest picture of the providence of God. All of these missions that he flew in war, with the enemy shooting at him, and that didn't kill him. But he died playing baseball. So at the end of it all, we would play the odds. We would have thought, surely, flying these missions would have been what took him out. That wasn't it. That wasn't it. At the end of the day, he died playing baseball. So when we talk about the providence of God, y'all, if the coronavirus wasn't meant to take you out, guess what? You ain't gonna die.
Come on now.
You ain't gonna die from it. So what you gonna be fearful for? Focus on your assignment and don't let the enemy put you in fear, get you in a state of panic, and get you out of the position you're supposed to be in.
Yeah.
We ain't with all that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do what God has called us to do. We ain't gonna be in fear. And whatever God decides is what we're gonna go with. All right, let's pray. Dear eternal God, our Father, we thank you for your goodness and your mercy and being who you are to us. We thank you, God, that we don't live in fear. God, but our mind is stayed on you, God. We trust in you, so you're going to keep us in perfect peace. So we thank you that you're covering us and you're keeping us from all hurt, harm, and danger. And God, even as we leave this place, but never your presence, God, we pray, God, that you bless us in going as you have in coming. We can pray, God, that you will bless everybody that's going to give tonight. We pray, God, that you would just hover over them. God, the people that are making the sacrifice to push through to be in your presence. You know that are watching at home and they're watching by Facebook Live, Lord. We pray a special blessing even on them. And God, if there be any fear, God, that grips your people, we ask now, God, that you will break that spirit of fear, God, and that faith will come in all of us, God, to stand and to focus in on what you have us do. We know, God, that you are in control of everything, so therefore we will not fear because you are our God. We thank you. We give you glory for it now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 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 All right, let's bring our gifts to the Lord tonight. How you doing? Feeling pretty good?